Thank you for joining us on the Free Time Mastermind podcast. Today's guest is Robin Spanell, the guitar hero of Vancouver, British Columbia. His YouTube channel has over 47 million views, and we talk about the ins and outs of having viral videos, how to monetize yourself as a musician, and more. Without further ado, here's Robin. Thank you for joining us, Robin. First question. I ask a lot of guests this: where in the world are you right now?
I'm in Rain City, Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada,
And
where we
that's
could not see the eclipse because it was cloudy, which is every day almost. Cloudy, cloudy, rain, rain, cloud. So yeah, I've been waiting to get out back on the street again, but it's been a month, and then it gets warm for 3 days in March, drops 10 degrees again. So let's say through most of April now it's rain, and then you get a bit of warm again. So yeah, just waiting to start the next season of busking.
fantastic. And we'll educate the folks a little bit about what busking is. But I wanted to start off, we had talked before, and you've been playing guitar since 1972, but we're going to focus on the last 9 years. But if you could kind of take us into what changed 9 years ago, and tell us a little bit about what busking is and why you ended up busking versus the gigging.
Yeah, well, I was gigging with bands probably from around 2005 to 2000. I think 18 was the last live show that I did. So started with bands, 4-piece, then to 3-piece as the money kept going down, then to two, then to a duo. And I think I was doing duos with female singers for the last few years. So it just became a real struggle to find gigs because the live scene in Vancouver pretty much died in the last 10 years. So all the clubs that I used to play in, they're all gone. And I think that was the cause was a mix of people not really caring about going out to see live music anymore. Netflix came in, and the internet and phones. And so people were busy staying at home watching TV. So a lot of clubs just couldn't afford to stay open anymore because they needed to sell booze, and that was difficult to keep people, club going with one person drinking a beer for 3 hours. So that's conversations I had with owners all the time about things like that. So yeah, I kind of got in on the tail end of it, and I was happy that I did. So I got to experience it, and it was a lot of work, just trying to contact managers all the time, and schmoozing to get in every few months. Oh, I got a new band, and oh, you got to check out the singer, and I just had to do all this work. So I ended up doing all the work for my bands. Generally, it was like getting the people together, doing the auditions, doing the promo, talking to managers, doing the recording of gigs. It's one thing I was glad I did was I videoed every single gig that I was in. So that was before phones really came in. I had an actual camera and had to, and I thought, this isn't going to last. I knew right away. I said, this is not going to last. I better record it for posterity. And it was a great thing because then I ended up having material for the YouTube channel, which I've been doing since 2006. So gigs started around 2008, did about 10 years, and then due to the frustration of not finding anything and constant cycling of singers, especially going through all these people, I thought, I'm just going to go on my own and do my own thing for a while. So, and that's where I'm at today. So 2015, I started busking downtown Vancouver, and I'm now going into 2024. I can't believe it. It's just like where's the time gone? I had to take a few years off there. Taking a break. I think 2000 with the whole COVID thing, they actually banned busking, I think, for a year or so. So there was really nobody outside anymore anyway. So yeah, I just started up again in 2022. So I've been pretty happy. with it because I generally get to do what I want. That's the main attraction. People are saying all the time, "Hey, how do you stand it? This complete lack of, people don't care and they're just walking past you and ignoring you." I said, "Yeah, that's like I could play at home in my closet. It would be almost the same for interaction, but I do get I get the exercise, keeps my blood pressure down, and I get to jam for hours on material that I actually like to play and never ever have to think about, oh, okay, the singer has to come in here and I don't get my spot. It's always with a band, you have to split it all up between people. So I really enjoy the freedom of playing extended jams. And that's what keeps me out there in spite of the all the crap that goes down every day.
And to let people know, give us a little bit of an idea of what busking is. I didn't know what that was. I think until I visited New Orleans a couple of times, and somebody
Right,
said, "Hey,
right.
that guy's a busker," and I wasn't sure what they meant, and I thought, is it safe? And, they said, "Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it's." But I'll let you explain. Actually, help me
yeah.
with two things. So let me know
Uh-huh.
what busking is, and also your specialty is not just long format YouTube videos, but also long guitar solos. And just give us a little background on that, on the busking, and then how your playing is different from other buskers.
Yeah, okay. Well, busking, I think it's been around for, I don't know, thousands of years. I mean, it pretty well has been around forever. A lot of people mistakenly mix it up with begging. That's what I found the most amazing thing is that people would say, "Oh, you're out there begging, you should get a job." And I'm like, "No, it's called busking. There is no begging. You play music for free and people can donate. It's their free will to donate. I'm not standing and jumping in front of people. Give me money." So that I think that drove me nuts as far as things in the last 10 years, and people don't know what it is. They think it's a form of begging. And but as far as the style, I really got into it. I think mainly when I started recording at home, um, sort of a side project of doing bands where I would have all the set list of 20, 30 songs, and I would just feel like I really need to stretch out on this material. So I would start recording myself at home, just jamming, just lying on the carpet on my back for like an hour, playing, just to get it out of my system because I wasn't getting it out of my system in the band. I had a very small window of 2 to 3 minutes in a band to jam. So I started working on that at home, which led to, getting proper recording equipment on the computer and then starting to do my own originals. And then it went from there. I was like, okay, I'm really getting into this. And then making backing tracks and then just working on the whole improvisation process, which came easy to me. I mean, I kind of grew up with it. I think my main influences were music my dad played in the 60s, like Creedence Clearwater Revival. Susie Q, I heard it through the grapevine. Both have extended guitar solos in it. And I listened to that stuff all the time because my dad was playing it. And I was always leaning towards that sound. Like I didn't mind the other songs and the vocals and all that, but it was like, oh, here comes that solo for 3 minutes. I was really getting into it. So I think that was my main impetus to want to learn guitar. It's John Fogerty and Rolling Stones, and also some surf instrumental called Torquay, which is from the Fireballs. Jimmy Gilmer and the Fireballs. This is like 1964, I think. That was also on a 8-track my dad played all the time. He had all this collection of it was called Jukebox Saturday Night. It was like, how long can I play and keep it interesting? That's always been the goal. So, start slow and then eventually getting into the zone where I'm playing something for, I think my record's about 4 hours on one track. That's on YouTube. I think it's called Too Far Gone. Yeah, it's like 4 hours. I really I'm a 60s, 70s guy. And there's like a sweet spot of blues-based playing, progressive music, funk, jazz combination, and even disco. all that came together for me, and it was a really good sweet spot of players that were not too overly technical yet. They were blues based, and they started to get a bit technical. You know, Jimi Hendrix, Jeff Beck, Michael Schenker, and all these guys, Billy Gibbons and Robin Trower and Frank Marino, probably the leading shredder of the 70s. But I kind of grew up with all those guys, so I'm coming from that base of still putting feel and emotion into music with a bit of technical, but not overdoing it like they do today, or came in the 80s when everything was Van Halen influenced. Somewhere around I think it was 2020, around when everybody was forced to stay indoors, 2020. I think I had a video go viral with this little girl dancing when I was playing ZZ Top. So that just struck a nerve with a lot of people because they saw, oh, somebody's playing outside and they're happy and this kid's dancing. And that's exactly what everybody needed to see at that time. So that video took off. Then I think by chance, put in a link in there just to tip with PayPal. I think I was advertising Bandcamp as well, but I wasn't so much into the advertising of, like, here are my links. It was really very haphazard at that time. But I just decided to do something with a PayPal link. And all of a sudden, one day, I got like a $5 tip, and it just blew my mind. I was like, somebody tipped me. Because, I was not making any money on YouTube. I was demonetized for years. And so I was not getting any money from anything from the views, even though I had 1 million views. So all of a sudden I got this tip and they started coming in. Then, the days after, just accumulating one after another, and then all day. And I was just like, what is going on? As this video took off. And I had a Sultans of Swing video as well that was getting views. Mostly it was that little girl dancing. And yeah, and so I think it was like end of 2021. I think it was end of 21 when I finally got monetized. And then another viral video came in 22 from the street. That was the guy, you're not doing that video, which ended up getting like 8 million views. And again, pulling in thousands of subs. And of course, and then it peaked at around 134,000. And then from that time, which was about a year ago, now it's going back down again. So I got my plaque from YouTube for passing 100,000. But, to me, it's kind of like meaningless because you got all these subs coming in and they're not really there to watch. They're just people that jumped on the train. I know they're not longer paying attention. They weren't there really for guitar. It was just for drama. And I can't supply the drama all the time. So I've been on the downslide now, trying to come to terms with the fact that it's not always going to be a rise in popularity, that you can head back down again. So that was that's what I've been dealing with for the last year. And it was mentally tough to deal with it because you feel like you got rejected. It's like, why? Why all of a sudden I'm not getting views? And I talked to YouTube about it, and they didn't really give me any good answers. I'm like, how am I getting 300 views on a video when I have 130,000 subs? So that doesn't make sense in any universe. And they still would not give me a good reason. They just tell me things are normal. Everything is A-okay.
And even with your channel being monetized, I would assume that whatever YouTube was paying you, the checks that were coming from YouTube, was very small compared to the tips. I would assume, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
that the tips would be what, 80% of the money that was coming in, 90%?
Yeah. The tips were pretty good. I mean, I think, I can't remember. I think one weekend I remember making about 2,000 in a weekend,
That's
but that
fantastic.
was just, that was the thing in the beginning, and then it went back down again. But yeah, the problem with the YouTube thing is they take about 30% of
Wow.
everything. And
Oh
I
my
think
God.
on the ad views, they take 30% of the tip. So, if you were to tip me $10, I'm getting seven. So nobody really knows that because YouTube doesn't like to talk about it. They won't present that to you as you're tipping. By the way, he's only getting 70%. They will never, you have to actually dig for this information. So, they got that problem, and then they take about half the money for the ad views. So if the video was generating $5 of ad revenue in, 4 days, then I would get half of that. So it's become a problem now where I don't get the views. So it's just kind of like pennies coming in on that. And so when you get a high view video, like if it can hit 100,000, well, you might get something out of that. Then it's not bad. You make 20, $30 or something. But when you don't get the views, then you can forget about that. Then that's why most people are relying on sponsors. Somebody comes in, or you do some advertising for somebody and they're paying for it. You have affiliate links, that kind of thing. And I don't have any of that. So that's why I'm always pushing Patreon. The lifesavers for me is Patreon and Bandcamp, because that's where I sell my music, and Patreon is just to, help, on a monthly basis to subscribe. And there's various levels in there that people can join on. So, it starts at $5 and can go all the way up to like you did, getting the jam request, right? For $100. I even have a gig level in there. Nobody's got that one yet, but it's like, I'll do local gigs, and I'll do this amount of time in your show and things like that. So I've left the option in there, but Patreon is a steady thing. And that's really what I'm trying to get more of, of these hardcore fans, and I might have about 70 paying members on there right now, and then maybe another
Wow.
40 free members. Free member is a new thing where people can join up for free, and then they can kind of get a look at what you're doing. They're not required to pay, but sometimes these people will, transfer over to paying. So that's what I hope.
So the Patreon, I would assume with 70 paying members is probably even exceeds the tips from YouTube, because that sounds pretty
Yeah,
significant, having
yeah.
70. So that's fantastic. So it seems like um, leaning into that Patreon is more beneficial. But something interesting about the YouTube channel, and I have to give full disclosure. I've hired you 3 times before. I bought a
Yeah,
T-shirt.
yeah, excellent. Right
I'm
on.
a huge fan. And I'll let folks that don't know this know what I hired you for the 3 times. And I found your YouTube channel, I think about 3 years ago. And
Mm.
I thought, wow, because I can play one of your videos and it's great background music while I'm
Yeah,
doing stuff in the house. And it's just, the music never stops because you just keep going. And it's
right.
fantastic. That way I don't have to, nowadays, if you have some regularly playing other sources, commercials come in and so
Hmm.
forth. So, but I really enjoyed that. And then I noticed though, well, actually, let me go through this part. I contacted you first. I think you had your email on there, and I asked you to basically play as a birthday gift for someone,
Hmm.
and they loved that so much. I mean, the response, because it was a very part. I even
Yeah,
gave you some ideas, just
yeah,
like genre, what they like, and
yeah.
they were over. I mean, it was unbelievable. I've given special things before because
That's
I
great.
try to be a good gift giver, but
Yeah,
this was just, they really treasured it, and I thought, oh, I'm onto something now. I need to, I need to keep Robin, stay in touch with him. So we
yeah.
did it a second time. The first time was for my niece, who you did
Mm.
a jam band style. All I said was kind of Grateful Deadish, and you just,
Right.
I think it was an hour, which
Yeah,
overwhelmed me, because
probably.
I said, hey, do 20 minutes, whatever you want, and then
And
you
too
you
short.
delivered 60, and it was. Yeah, she was, and she's not a very, overly emotional person, but she was overwhelmed
Oh, that's
with the
great.
gift. So then next was my brother, and my brother is a musician also, and
Uh,
you did one for him, and he loved it. And then this most recent one, you did a live birthday
yeah,
concert,
yeah,
and that was put, I think, on YouTube Live. And again,
yeah,
it's just amazing. People really really love it. So I'm going to keep
yeah,
giving you as a gift, Robin, if you don't mind. And then when I purchased the T-shirt, the reason why I bought that is I wasn't sure, which ways you make more money. And I know there's probably
right,
not a lot of profit in the T-shirts,
yeah,
but that viral video of the guy who, I don't know if he was on drugs or what, but the guy that kept going,
yeah,
"You're not doing that." I
yeah,
thought that
yeah,
was so funny. I said, I have to have
yeah.
that on the T-shirt. And if I didn't dress up for these podcasts, I would have had it
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
But I want to lead into that too, because I noticed as I'm looking at your videos, and as a subscriber, I see things come up. People in general, there's really kind of two groups of people that watch your page primarily, and correct me if I'm wrong. There's the people like me that love the music and want to hear these really long guitar jams. And then there's
mhm,
the other people that like to see videos of you getting harassed on the street
mhm,
while you're trying
mhm.
to play.
Yes,
And to be fair, Robin, I know you're playing into that a little bit, because you'll title this little short clip, "Hey, here's this guy
yeah,
who's gonna harass me,"
yeah,
which I think is funny, because you're
mhm,
defanging that negativity.
yeah,
It's a great revenge on your part, because people have
yeah,
taken tips out of your jar. They've tried to play around
yeah,
with your equipment. They tried to take your equipment. They've tried to physically.
yeah,
I mean, it's unbelievable. And of course, when we think of British Columbia, we think of, at least where I'm at in the Midwest or down here in Texas, we think people up there are exceedingly friendly. But
yes,
wow, some of the things that happen on the street to you, it blows me away. And I guess in a
mhm,
way that, I mean, as long as you're getting attention and you're making money off of it, I think it's fantastic. But people's morbid interest in folks harassing you, I just don't
yeah,
understand that, because I
yeah.
take pleasure from the music. I laugh at the one guy who's, like I said, I think he was in contact with another dimension or something. But
Oh, yeah.
uh it's
Yeah, it was that's a good example of that video because it had so many comments and I had so many trolls on it. Like you think I had problems on the street because I deal with these people there, but it got just as bad on YouTube. Yeah, it's a strange mix, right? And I thought that's what really would help the channel grow is this combination of trying to make music in this like asylum setting on the street where you have a hard time concentrating because of the traffic and the sirens going by and crazy people and the noise. So I really worked on my focusing skills. So yeah, it's people always ask me, "Oh, would you recommend I start busking?" And I'm like, "No,
no,
I
no.
don't recommend it unless you really want to. If you have a lot of self confidence and you can put up with anything, and you want to make some videos, maybe." But I guess it would be different in a friendlier area or in a city where they promote busking more, like Lisbon or Dublin. They probably
Oh
have a much
yeah.
more positive experience there, and buskers are probably treated a lot better. Where here, it's not really a thing. I have to go with people. Some of these buskers are doing it for a living, so they are extremely, hardcore. They have to get out there and can't be interrupted and that kind of thing. So you have to deal with that, and then also all the people. Luckily, I don't have to deal with the police. I really don't see them, or if I do see them, they're friendly to me. They're like, "Hey, I enjoy your music," or they find me
Yeah.
another 10, 50 people
That's
who are into
exactly
it.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, we just need those, right. But like you said, even if 10 people
Yeah.
uh had, gifted you, 5 events per, that's
Hmm.
50 events. And like you said, it doesn't matter about the weather. The snow could be
Yeah.
3 foot high in
Yeah.
Vancouver, but you could be
Exactly.
inside nice and warm, doing a long form jam.
Yeah.
But you do more than just, so you're outside busking. Obviously, you do things inside. You do those gifts, which I think is my favorite thing. You've got T-shirts, but also you've got
Mm.
teaching too. I think I
Yeah.
ran into that. You've got some links where you do private instruction via video, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's I have it listed on Patreon, so it's the same thing. People can sign up for half-hour lesson a month or an hour, and two different prices for that, like $30 for a half hour. So some people would, maybe get a bulk amount to last them for a year or something. And yeah, I'm doing the same thing. I'll do that over Zoom.
And I
So
don't want to be the guy that tells you, hey, this is what you need to do, Robin. I don't want to be that guy. But I will say what we do for our mastermind group is obviously we use testimonials, personal
mhm,
referrals. Like when I gave you as a gift, then those people are like, "Oh, I've got to do that for so and so. So that kind of the referral is the number one most powerful. And then the
yeah.
second most powerful in marketing is the testimonials. So actually, I had this vision of, because we have them on our site as well, where people talk
Mhm.
about the experience that they had with me. But you remember when the viral videos were going, where the people that were colorblind were getting the glasses, and it was all guys and they all cried, and it was the videos were viral and they went everywhere because people were having this extreme experience, and humans, we're fans of human interest. So I just think
Mhm.
about, if you're doing that jam, because like when you did the most recent live birthday, which she really loved, but she
Right.
wasn't on camera. But you imagine a little 30-second clip of you playing and getting the reaction of the recipient of that gift,
Yeah.
and then having that up there so people can understand the value of
That
that.
would be great. Yeah. If
And I
somebody's
mean,
willing to film themselves for that, that would be
yes.
excellent. I've always sometimes asked people to, send me clips of themselves listening to my music in whatever environment you're in. And I had a couple people do it, but not a huge response. Like somebody maybe having tea somewhere in Europe while they're listening, or somebody's out in their backyard, maybe with the speakers booming. I'd love to get more videos like that where I could incorporate them into the jam, or just showing here's how people are listening and enjoying. Because one of the main things about this that I really love is the music therapy aspect of it. It's this is something I was actually studying to do as a career when I was in college, and then I didn't do it. I ended up taking the loan money, and traveling to Europe for 2 years. But now I'm in that business anyway for years, because I hear from so many people um, during the last 4 years when I went viral, that were writing me and saying, "Oh, I'm using your music. It's helping me through my cancer therapy, and I'm in a hospital and I'm recuperating, or I'm at home and I'm depressed, or I can't sleep, and now I'm using your music, fall asleep to." I'd heard from a nurse who was using it to treat her Alzheimer patients. So all that came in, and that was really that to me is the really the pinnacle. I can be in this for myself to play music and I enjoy it, but really the pinnacle to me is to hear from somebody that's getting some kind of therapy out of it. Like they were able to relax, or it helped them sleep or heal, feel better. Somebody bought one of my songs on Bandcamp the other day and he paid $40 for it. I was like, that's the real hardcore fan that I want. Somebody who's like appreciates it, and it's not like sitting there on Spotify being streamed for 0.001 cent. That's what it would pay me. So I don't get involved with the Spotify thing. I'm strictly on Bandcamp, and that just for those kinds of people are like, hey, I left you, and they can pay what they want. It's like maybe set at $5, $10 for the album. If somebody wants to pay more, they can, and that's what I
I,
love about it.
there was an artist that I recently had not heard anything about him before. It's a band called Knower. Not normally my genre. People have said it's jazz fusion. I don't know. It's not like anything
Right?
I've ever heard in my life. I'm like you, classic rock, Creedence,
Yeah,
all the way, the experimental late 60s, early 70s. It kind of, by the mid 70s, I kind of check out with a lot of it, except
yeah,
for the progressive rock and roll. Like I
yeah,
love Yes and Rush, and
yeah.
some of that more complicated stuff. But this band, it's some of the strangest music I've ever heard. A lot of time signature changes,
Mm,
extremely complex stuff.
mm,
And I went on Bandcamp, and I paid $20. And then I wrote on
Mm-hmm.
their YouTube page and apologized. I said, I just spent $20. And I said, I still feel like I've stolen something because the album is, I mean, it's probably 50% of it is some of the best on an album that I've heard in the last decade.
Nice.
So really, I should have gave them, probably should have gave them 100. And I sincerely mean that because
Yeah.
if it was a record, I would have wore the grooves out because it's
Right.
incredible music. So you and I talked about this before, kind of the pre-show prep, that Jack Conte, I think that's how you say his name, the CEO of
Yeah.
Patreon.
Yeah. I watched that, by the way.
Yes, yes. So there's, you can get these fickle fans,
Yeah.
whether it be live, that people that don't come to your gig, or they say, in the old days, you sign up for the mailing list, which was a
Yeah.
physical mailing list, and
Yeah.
mom would call everybody, are you going to the gig? And then it became
Mm-hmm.
letters, and then it became email.
Yeah.
But Jack broke it down where it's better to have a small core of raving fans than to
Yes.
have a million people who, like you said, you have all these
Yeah.
subscribers,
Yeah.
but very little individual engagement now when
Yes.
you're out there working really, really hard. So the
Yeah.
question is, how going forward, and of course there's no current answer to it, and that's what you're seeking, but how do you
Right.
convert some of these people into these raving fans, or how do you open something up for them so that
Mm-hmm.
they can see, I've always loved Robin's music, but how can I help him? I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
just give a tip. I don't want to just buy a t-shirt. And the thought for me giving you as a gift, I don't think I had seen anywhere on your page where that had been discussed or offered. I just organically thought of that. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
might have that on there, but I was unaware of it 3 years ago. And I think that was the first time I reached out to you. So, for me, I was creating a new opportunity for myself
Mm-hmm.
that I wasn't aware of, but I don't know. I think, like we discussed before, if we had more people that were interested in doing something like that, you could sit in the luxury of your own home, and people would still, it doesn't matter if they love you, whether you're in the street or love you, in your
Yeah.
own living room, the
Yeah.
effect is the same. One
Yeah.
thing, there's a strange connection between us both. When I was listening to that, excuse me, the radio program before, where you did an interview, I also had a 1997 Parker Fly. And
Oh yeah.
yes, yes. So when I had the
Wow.
studio, I'm not a player. I mean, I can play some chords, but I had to have this range of instruments. That's how I was, because I was a no name new studio guy. So I thought,
Mm-hmm.
let me get some really cool gear, and
Mm-hmm.
that will, because I work with mostly younger guys, and they would come in
Mm-hmm.
and I'd say, yeah, you can play that. You can play that Parker on your album. Absolutely. That's what it's there for. And they would sign with me, and we'd get a little contract going because they wanted to play on these really high end instruments. And I will tell you, has to be one of the most intricately made, um, and it's a mix between artistry and technology. And there's an
Mm-hmm.
interesting story that you have about how you came by your Parker. Can you share that with us?
Sure. Well, I had actually seen that guitar too in the late 90s, I think, the first time, because a lot of the stores in town had them. And I was impressed right away just from the neck. It was very smooth. And I was like, this is really fast and smooth and better than what I had. But it was still out of my price range when I saw it. I mean, they were over at least $2,500, $3,000 at the time. And I remember we had just come from Germany at the time, didn't have jobs. So the money was out of the question. But then years later, and that took until 2008, it was almost 10 years later, when I saw it in the store, a nice red one. And I don't know if it was on sale, but I was like, okay, I'm now back into music because I took some time off. Around 2000, I went into eBay and I just did strict music sales on eBay for 5 years. And I didn't even touch the guitar, if you can believe that. It was like literally a 5 year period where I was so into the business of trying to make money on eBay. And that was a good time because it was good money. But I didn't touch the guitar and I was kind of done with bands. And then I slowly got back into it. 2005, got a guitar, started getting studio equipment. And then that Parker, I saw it at the store and I really liked it. So I bought it. Within a month, it started chipping paint on the neck. And I really liked that guitar, but I had to take it back. And I said, what is this? And then they ended up, for just a little bit more money, they offered me the one I have now, which is the 2008 Parker Fly, the autumn edition. Now, this was I think it was listed like 4,000, but they gave it to me for less because I had a hassle with the other guitar. So I got this one, and now this is, limited edition. There's only 25 of this model. I recently saw somebody selling this on Reverb. He said mint, and he wanted it was over 20,000. It was 25,000. I seriously doubt he's ever going to get that, but he's trying. But it is rare. So I ended up using this since 2008, and it was my go-to until end of 22, when a fan, and here we were talking again about the hardcore, somebody contacted me and he said, I have a Parker lying around that I'm not using. Do you want it? And I thought, this is somebody's trolling me. I thought for sure. And it ends up, I'm like, well, okay, if you're serious, let me just pay the shipping. And then he sent it. And that's the guitar I'm using now on the street. This one's kind of gone into mothballs. It has a MIDI system built in as well, which I had put in. But I prefer the new one, which is actually an older model. It's a 97. And it was mint condition. And it has a little bit easier neck. It stays in tune better. It's a bit lighter because it doesn't have the MIDI system. So now there is another amazing example of somebody who's really enjoying what I was doing, and he gifted me this guitar. So I felt like a kid at Christmas, like when I was 12, when I got my first guitar. It was the same kind of excitement. I couldn't believe it. So I'm just processing videos now from the end of October 22, and that's how far backlogged I am. I haven't even done 23 yet. And I'm just into the videos now where I started taking that black 97 Parker on the street. And I saw my year and a half behind. But that's the history of that guitar. I think the early models were built better because Ken Parker was still running the shop, and they started to, in the early 2000s, giving out the guitars for another company to put together. So he didn't oversee them. And then there started to be quality issues, like that example of the red one with the paint coming off. That wouldn't happen with a Ken Parker pre-2000 model. So those are really the holy grail of the Parker line. So I was really happy to get one of them. But I'm not really getting contacted for these things. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I'm not really being seen anymore. Like, views are now average 400 to 1,000 tops. Unless I do I threatened to quit YouTube video, which I just put up last week, right? The content of that video, I tried the day before as its own video, me playing by Beaver Lake in Stanley Park, right next to water, very relaxed. It got no views when I put it up on Sunday. So I took it off because it was terrible. Next day, I put up the same video with the picture. I quit. This is my last YouTube video. Instantly, 50, 60 people watching that video. Like, you can see right away when it's live, who's in the chat, right? Who's watching right now? Normally it's maybe 10, 15 people I get. Right away, everybody's watching. Oh, he's going to quit. So that just shows you the power of clickbait. And it's too bad I can't have April Fools every week, because I would have so much fun with it. Just putting up stuff that's not true, So that was like, I was like, that video actually got over 2,000 views. And if you look for perspective, last year, I regularly got 5,000 to 50,000 views per video. It didn't matter what it was. And some of them would even go more than that, 100,000. But that's when I had, I was in the algorithm, and I don't know now. I've been trying to figure out for a year what happened. Did I get thrown out of the algorithm? And is YouTube now pushing shorts? We know they're pushing shorts. So that, I think, is part of the reason. And a lot of people I know about, big channels, bigger than me, have said the same thing, where they're making videos now saying, I'm not growing. It's stagnating. Nothing's happening. I'm not getting views anymore.
Some prominent YouTubers have quite
Hmm.
openly left the platform recently. So for the
Right.
people watching, what is the best way people can find you? So a lot of people that I've spoken to before, they have their own domain, their own
Yeah.
website. But do you want them mostly to look for you on YouTube? And I haven't mentioned the name of your channel yet, but if you can give
Right.
us, how can people find you? Where do you want them to see your material?
Okay. Well, I guess the YouTube, the name is Shatner's Hairpiece, which has been the same name since I started. So if you just search Shatner's Hairpiece, you find my stuff. I have links to all my things in every video description. So the main other sites are Patreon, which I think is called the $6 Million Guitar on there, in tribute to my childhood hero, Steve Austin. Lee Majors. Bandcamp is the $6 Million Guitar.
We'll
So
make
yeah, I
sure.
think that the best ones are, it's YouTube, Patreon, Bandcamp, and then general tip links. So I'm really trying to push my music on Bandcamp. I've got thousands of songs on there now, putting up at least 5, 6 albums, street albums a month. And you get every show. So if somebody sees me on the street, I try to tell them, keep the date, because this is going to be on YouTube eventually. You're
That's
going to
right.
see yourself eventually. If you talk to me, it's going to be up.
Well, I
You
really
know,
enjoyed the time with you, Robin.
all right. Thanks again. I'll talk to you soon. All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Free Time Mastermind podcast, sponsored by the Free Time Mastermind Group, found at www.freetimemastermind.com.